Thank you, Mr Deputy President. I rise today to speak in support of the Narcotic Drugs Amendment Bill of 2016. And Dan went through hell. He spent years enduring chemotherapy treatment that made him nauseous. He lost weight. He was unable to eat. It impacted every aspect of his life. Dan developed something called anticipatory nausea. Now, nausea in and of itself is an awful symptom. It's debilitating. Those people who experience chemotherapy say that of all of their symptoms, often it's the nausea that's the worst. Anticipatory nausea is just the thought of going in to having chemotherapy triggers nausea. So without the drug itself, just simply the notion that you're going to sit down, have a toxic drug injected into your arm, will trigger nausea. And he was so unwell, he lost so much weight that it appeared that the chemotherapy would no longer be used. Then, quite by accident, Dan's family heard about medicinal cannabis. It's interesting, Dan's father's a law enforcement officer, his mother Lucy heard about it, and of course, like any desperate parent, they did what they could. They thought this was a last resort. They tried medicinal cannabis. Initially, Dan smoked it, and the effects were profound. Dan had an immediate response. His nausea settled. He had more of an appetite, and it helped to give him some quality of life in those final few years. Today marks 1 year since Dan's passing. It's a year today since Dan left us, and so it is incredibly fitting that we're here today marking the passage of this bill, standing in support of legislation that Dan and his family helped to drive forward. I know that Lucy Haslam wanted to be here today. Lucy, this wouldn't have happened without your contribution. Unfortunately, things move quickly sometimes in this place. Far too often they move slowly, but on this issue we're debating a piece of legislation that we thought might be in this parliament next week. I'm sorry you can't be here today. I know you wanted to be here, and I know you'll be watching from Tamworth. To you, I want to say on behalf of the Australian Greens, on behalf of all of the people in this parliament, thank you for everything that you have done, and I want to let you know that your family's grief, your family's pain and suffering has not been in vain, and this is a legacy that Dan will leave here in this parliament.
Australia, with a population of around 23 million, has followed several states in the US and decided to decriminalize the use of marijuana. The amendments were made to their Narcotic Drugs Act, which means legal cannabis farms and the distribution of marijuana products will have to governments go ahead. Susan Ley, the Minister of Health, said in a statement, "This is a historic day for Australia and the many advocates who have fought long and hard to challenge the stigma around medicinal cannabis products so genuine patients are no longer treated as criminals." She went on, "This is a missing piece in a patient's treatment journey, and we will now see seamless access to locally produced medicinal cannabis products from farm to pharmacy." The details have not been finalized just yet, but it is thought within the next few months patients with a prescription for medical marijuana will be allowed to start growing their crops. This is a huge leap for supporters of legalized marijuana across the world, and hopefully now other continents such as North America and Europe will do the same. If you enjoyed this article or learned something new, please don't forget to share it with others so they have a chance to enjoy this free information. This article is open source and free to reblog or use if you give a direct link back to the original article URL. Thanks for taking the time to support an open source initiative. We believe all information should be free and available to everyone. Have a good day and we hope to see you soon.